What's going on, guys? MrYorkiesWorld here. Got a flight today in the 777. It's a PMDG aircraft, and this is actually the first time I am doing a 777 full flight. So we're doing a flight from Miami, Florida to McCarran in Las Vegas. It's about a 5 or 6 hour flight. Again, this is pre-recorded. I've already recorded everything. I'm just putting in the fuel right now, and I decided it's a lot easier for me to do things in terms of just fly, record the flight, and then do the commentary afterwards, because it lets me just concentrate on everything. I might do some live commentaries and stuff in the future, but for now I'm going to stick with this, especially when I'm just learning the aircraft. So again, this is Miami, Florida, which is Kilo Mike India Alpha Airport, and we're going to be flying to KLAS, Kilo Lima Alpha Sierra, in Las Vegas. Now, on this particular route, I actually miscalculated the fuel slightly. I think I've changed the route, and basically after I've calculated the actual fuel I needed online on the fuel planner, I forgot that I needed to actually follow the route that I'd originally planned and not make any changes. And unfortunately, we did have a message on landing. We will have a message saying insufficient fuel, but that's only literally because we dipped into the reserve fuel. We didn't actually run out of fuel, so that's a good thing anyway. Departing from runway 30 here at Miami, we're going to be landing at runway 1 left over at Las Vegas. So we're just testing the oxygen now. I just tested it just to make sure. I think this is the correct way to do it. You test all three. So it's obviously all the way to the right when it first starts. You just put it to the left, into the middle, and then to the left, and test all of them. So both of those were okay. We have the checklist open, so we can tick off oxygen. Flight instruments, I usually tune into the ATIS and listen to the fellow on the radio, and he tells me what the altimeter is going to be, so I put that into the altimeter.
Kilo Mike India Alpha Airport information Bravo 1214 Zulu weather wind 317 at 6 visibility 10 sky condition few clouds at 1100 ceiling 1900 broken temperature 24 2.23 altimeter 2999 advise on. Okay,
so there we are. I've put the altimeter as 2999 because that's what it said on the radio. It's really helpful just to tune into that. It's 122.00 is the frequency for that, and it just helps you out with the altimeters and stuff. It's really handy if you're wondering and you're stuck. I mean, you can actually get that from the flight plan, but I prefer to just get it off the ATIS because it's more up to date. Well, it's not more up to date, but you get what I mean. It's just easier for me. I'm going to put the altitude in as 370. So that's the flight altitude. I could do a higher altitude, to be honest, but I just try and stay with 370. It's a standard of mine. It's 370. 36 or 370 I tend to go with. So now it's time for the upper overhead here. Switched on the ADIRU and the emergency lights, just done the fuel pump, just done the packs, started the APU, and we'll set the seatbelt signs to on just in case. Just prefer to get it all done and sorted. I will probably do a tutorial video on how to do this because it can be a little bit tricky, especially if you're used to flying the smaller aircraft like the 737 NGX. So we don't know what gate we're at, so I'm just going to take the GPS position and put it in there from the IRS. And we will request our route. I've already saved one. I've got 2 of these routes, but I prefer to use the number 1, 001. Purely and simply, it's just an easier approach. It's not the official approach that you should probably use, but it's a lot easier than the sort of last-minute approach that you have to do otherwise because of the terrain that's everywhere. Another thing, I may do an FMC tutorial on how to actually get a route from the internet and put it into the FMC in the 777 and also in the 737, because it makes life a hell of a lot easier. You don't have to go through and start putting all the legs in and stuff. I should probably put all the wins in like you would do in real life, but I don't tend to do that. I just tend to, at the minute, because I've only just started learning and because I've only just started getting like up to date with all this, I prefer just to do things in small steps. So I don't actually put any of the wins in or anything like that. I just do the basics, get from departure to destination, and learn that way. Which I suppose, you know, it's taking too many shortcuts really, because the winds are just as easy to put in as the altimeter is. It's the same frequency on the ATIS. It tells you what the winds are and the temperatures are and stuff. So possibly I could just follow that and, you know, do it that way, but I'm lazy like that, you see. So that's just me. So we have set up the MCP now. Runway heading is 299, 370 is flight altitude, and the takeoff or V2 speed is 160 knots. So we're just literally getting ready now to close the doors and everything and push back, which will hopefully be happening very soon. So we'll close the door and the cargo hatches and everything. So now we can go ahead and detach the, I nearly said that wrong then, detach the jetway, which funnily enough is raised above the ground because I'm not using GSX, and obviously these are only like the standard jetways. They don't really, or they're not really designed to go to the height of the doors that's on the 777. We've just turned the TA and RA on the TCAS, and we're just doing a test, and it's just passed, so that's good. I'm just putting some fix information in, which will draw a few lines or a few rings around the airport just to tell us how far away we are. I usually do 15, 30 and 45. 15 because 15 miles is usually how far out the ILS or the glide slope and localizer and everything goes. We're going to put the ILS information actually into the NavRad page or Nav Radios. I believe there is a way to do that automatically, but I always do it manually. It's just to check it goes in and everything properly. Right, so I think now we are near enough ready for pushback. We'll get the checklist up before start. Yeah, we've got everything sorted. I just need to learn how to do the trim. That's the only thing I need to do. It's not caused me any issues as of yet, but I always I don't know what to do with the trim and how to set it on the 777. So if you know, leave me a comment in the description or in the comments section. Sorry, just let me know how to do that. Because is there a way to do it inside the virtual cockpit without mapping it to a key, or do you have to map it to a key or something? Because I have no idea. Anyway, we're near enough ready now for pushback and start. We need to do the hydraulics, so this has to happen in a particular order, and I've literally only just learned that order, which was that one just there. Once the hydraulics are sorted, we can disconnect ground power and prepare for pushback. Just start the pushback request now, and hopefully we'll be able to push back nose left, sorry, and we will make our way to the runway, which is runway 30. We need to cross another runway. The two runways actually cross together, cross over each other, so it's runway 30, and the other one, I can't remember what the other runway is. I think it's runway 27, but I'm not entirely sure. Let me just take a look at the charts. Yeah, it is actually 27, so we're crossing over runway 27 on our way to runway 30, which is where we will take off from. And hopefully then, once we're about 1,500 feet or just above 1,000, I tend to engage the autopilot. Probably in real life, that wouldn't happen until, you know, a little bit later, but I tend to just try and get it off the ground, get it in the air, get it all sorted, and get ourselves following the route. So there's a nice wing view, by the way. Outside view, we're a Delta 777 today, which I don't even know whether Delta do this particular route, but I've decided that today they do. So that's just my way of doing things. I'm not very accurate when it comes to like following exact company routes and what they do and what they don't. I just tend to do this for the purposes of learning how to fly the aircraft, and obviously showing you guys all the sceneries and what have you, and producing this content for you. So, to be honest, I try and do it as realistically as possible, but if I don't, then who cares, you know? Anyways, so pushback is almost complete, and as you can see, we're going to be following this yellow line. Obviously, why wouldn't we be? Unless, of course, I want to go randomly parading around the airport like an idiot, but no, I might not be that realistic, but I'm not that unrealistic either, so you know. So pushback is complete now. We can switch on the taxi light. We will turn off the APU once both engines are fully spooled up. Flaps 5, because that's what we're going to be taking off with. There's the cutout for engine number 1. And I'm just looking at it here on the screen. Both engines look fine, so we can turn off the APU. Both at 711, so that's great. Let's turn off the APU. That's that sorted. So we've set the flaps. I've done everything. So let's just bring up the checklist. So this is before taxi. With anti-ice is normal. Recall. Let's just lock the overhead a second and do a recall, which brings back nothing. We've not forgotten to do anything. Flight controls. Let's bring up that page. And we will test all the flight controls. So forward and back, and left and right. It's all okay. And rudder left and rudder right. And we're all fine. Everything's fine. So we can close down that checklist now. Or that page, sorry. Go back onto the checklist. That's complete. And ground equipment, there is none. We are 100% clear. So we have now cleared ourselves near enough for taxi, and we can start taxiing as soon as possible. Really, I think everything's complete. There's nothing there, so here we go. Let's just start ourselves going. So we're going to be taxiing, as I said, onto runway 30, and we're going to have to cross over runway 27 on the way. So we'll have to do a quick traffic check and just make sure there's nothing coming, which there won't be. But again, it's just sort of realism. I like to throw in a little bit of realism every now and then. You know, you would obviously check for traffic in the real world, so there we go. And obviously now we have begun to taxi. Now, I try and keep taxiing to a maximum of around 25 knots on the ground. I think that is the maximum anyway that you can taxi. And I do apologise for the little bit of stuttering that's happening. For some reason it likes to stutter lately with the scenery. This is not actually a third-party airport. Neither is Las Vegas. It's just using the stock scenery with FTX Global. But for some reason, especially in the 777, I do get significant stuttering sometimes, and especially in like built-up areas and that is obviously because it's a massive aircraft. So there's very little that you can do about that. I'm not a person who likes 30 frames a second or 60 frames a second all the time anyway. I do understand that obviously it's a simulator, it's not going to work that way. But here we go, we've got to make a really, really sharp turn here. And at this point I was probably thinking that, you know, I was going to have to end the video because I've just gone on the grass. But no, I managed to actually get round, so that's pretty cool. We're actually going over runway 27 at the moment, and what I try and do is there we go, you can see now 27, and then that's runway 30 there. So we're going to have to go over runway 27 to get to 30. So let's just start going. Again, you would probably do a traffic check here and just check to make sure there's nothing landing or taking off or taxiing anywhere near where you're trying to go. But I know that there isn't because all the traffic's turned off. And we've just got the alert that the cabin is ready for takeoff, so that's always a good sign. Don't want to be taking off with people flying all over the cabin. Another sharp turn here. Taxiing's got to be my least favourite thing, to be honest. I need to learn how to taxi, in a better way, really. The way I see it is I try and keep the centre line or the taxi line lined up with the right-hand side of the PFD there that says that shows the altitude. That grey bar, try and keep the centre line lined up with that grey bar. And also, obviously, it's a good indication when you can hear the wheel going over the lights on the floor, like the little bumps. That's a good indication that it's dead on in the centre. So here we are on runway 27. So turn off the taxi lights and turn on the landing lights, and we're going to do a quick and easy takeoff, hopefully. We're going to be going with Toga at any moment. Start the clock. And has it not worked? No, it didn't work that time. Toga, there we go. So we are now clear for takeoff, and here we go. Taking off from runway 30 at Miami. On our way to grand old Las Vegas in Nevada. This has got to be the first flight that I've ever done of this length in the 777, and I will also be using some of the auto cruise options in the PMDG aircraft, which allows you to obviously put it into sort of a time-lapse mode, and you don't have to sit there for the full 6 hours. It's a bit of a cheat, but obviously if it means me being able to make videos and wherever and do it in no time, then that's all I'm bothered about. Look at that scenery, it's amazing. All the trees and everything. I love it when you just take off from an airport like this, it's fantastic. You also see the wing flexing a little bit at the end. FTX Global makes so much difference to the way that everything looks. So there we go. So I've just enabled the autopilot. We're going to set the speed to around 235 because this aircraft has got a tendency to go over speed when it's under 10,000 feet and trying to climb on its own. So I always manually set the speed and limit it until we are at 10,000, where we can basically take the foot off the brakes and climb to the full altitude, cruise altitude, and go obviously like over 250 knots. So I mean, look at the scenery, it's just, I love it. I absolutely love it, it's fantastic. I'm going to spam the altitude intervene button a little bit. There's a wing view for you. Clouds are by Rex. So are some of the textures, most of them are FTX Global, and we have active Skynex running as well. Just started to raise the flaps a little bit now, put the speed up to 240. The after takeoff checklist is open, and that flaps up will turn green once, there we go, once the actual flaps are up. So we can close down that checklist. And what's the next one? We don't really need it yet, so we will just literally do everything that needs doing. Set the heading to our actual heading. I don't really mess around with the heading too much, to be honest, but I do a little bit. Pressurization set, because we're above 6,000. Seats can go auto. I always set it to auto, and then it'll just automatically turn them off after 10,000. 245 on the speed, because we're getting a little bit closer now to 10,000 feet. So the altitude restriction will soon be lifted. Look at all those clouds, I love it. Love the engine view and the wing view and everything, it's fantastic. Still see some of the ground textures. So yeah, believe it or not, my settings are not majorly high, they are like just literally around sort of like the medium area, to be honest, and that's what I get really. This is the performance that I get, which is, I give up a little bit of performance for the looks, to be honest. I don't know why the ILS diamonds are in place for the localizer and glide slope, no idea. Probably the same or similar frequency on this airport to what it is at the destination. But anyways, so yeah, the sliders, I'm going to have to make a video about the sliders, aren't I? I'm just going to have to either put them on here like a screenshot or something in this video, or I will literally just make a separate video about it. Probably make a video about it, to be honest, because I get loads of questions saying, what's the secret? You know, there's no smoke and mirrors. There honestly is no smoke and mirrors. The only tweak that I use is the fiber frame time fraction 0.01 tweak in your prepared config file, and that's about it. That's the only thing I really use. I honestly do not use anything else apart from I did use Affinity Mask, but since then I've sort of taken it out. So, and that's literally it. So what I will do now is I will let you enjoy the rest of this this flight here, and I'll catch up with you as we approach McCarran International Airport in Las Vegas. Okay, so welcome back, and we are almost there. We are literally approaching the ILS now, where we'll hopefully do an auto land. We won't be landing completely automatically because I'll be taking over at about 1,000 feet. I usually try and do that, try and challenge myself a little bit. We've got a little bit of wind, I believe. It seems to be swaying over the all over the place a little bit, so this will be a challenge to get it on the centre line when I land, but let's just try. For some reason it's easier with the 777 to line it up and to control it than it is with the 737 NGX. I've no idea whether that's because the 737 is smaller and more sensitive or something, but yeah, I have no idea. So we've literally just enabled the approach mode. We've already established the ILS. The seatbelt signs are now on. Gears down, flaps are almost set. And what I will do is, I'm just going to take over with the heading hold selector. We're at 5,000 feet because of the terrain. We've had to change our altitude a little bit for this approach. I'm going to use the heading selector here just to get ourselves onto the actual ILS there, as you can see on the screen that I've got open. We are just literally to the left of it. So I want to be as perfect as possible. Approach hold is still activated, so it'll automatically sort us out anyway. Not much else we need to do, to be honest. It's going to take us down, hopefully. The two diamonds are approaching the centre lines for the localizer and the glide slope. The glide slope is dead on now, and the localizer is also there near enough. Glide slope's captured, and the aircraft has started to descend on its own. So now, here we go, insufficient fuel, and that's because of, like I said earlier, I planned it and then I changed the route a little bit midway and unfortunately started dipping into my reserve fuel. So the fuel isn't actually low, it's the reserve fuel that I'm dipping into, and we had a bit of a mess about here with the speed brake as well. I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working, then I realised the speed brake was out, it wasn't actually armed. There we go. So I realised at this point now it's armed. So, getting absolutely smashed to death when it comes to frames, but look at that view. Look at the wing flex, look at the amazing view. I shouldn't have turned off traffic, actually. I should have turned on some ground traffic. Because that is amazing. But yeah, I'm getting ripped to pieces here with the FPS, and that's because of the sheer amount of scenery that we are seeing right now, plus the fact we're in a PMDG 777 aircraft. You know, it sort of doesn't help. I mean, I'm using the Nvidia shadow play capture to capture this video, so that could also be struggling, and that's possibly why the frames are low, so I do apologise for that. But overall, to be honest, it's a really good experience. Shadow play doesn't really lower the frame count, like the frames per second. It doesn't have an effect on it really. It's just, it captures the video flawlessly, a hell of a lot better than Fraps. So yeah, as I said, this is probably one of the only flights like this that I've done. I should have done it at night time because it would have been amazing to see the Las Vegas Strip all lit up and everything at night. I love the scenery in the daytime though, look at that, it's just amazing. And the weather's perfect, the clouds, the atmosphere, it just feels so real. And obviously that's my expectation, is to make it as realistic as possible for myself, but also as fun as possible, because I'm trying to entertain you guys and you know, give you some really good content. So a moment ago I disabled the autopilot. The only thing that's still going is the auto throttle, which will automatically go to idle when we get to a certain height above the runway. But I'm struggling with a bit of wind here in this particular part. The pappies look okay, so it's like, yeah, half and half, red and yellow, but the you'll see in a moment the glide slope, I'm losing the glide slope, and I get a warning in a minute which I have to override. But overall, to be honest, it's nothing major. There we go, there's the warning. It gets very annoying, it keeps going on, so I decided to override it here. A little bit to the right. Could have used a little bit of rudder, but there we go, we are down. That's the main gear and the nose gear. Could have done that a little bit lighter, to be honest, but there we go. We're down. Welcome to Las Vegas. Slowing down to a nice halt. I don't think we can actually taxi to the left there. I think the gates are on the right hand side, but let's just start the APU and we'll take it from there. Yeah, getting absolutely ripped to shreds with the frames per second. Really don't care though. Disable the auto throttle and we will take this left here, but I don't think that's a good idea actually. But I'm going to show you I'll show you the strip anyway, even if this is not the right way to go. Should have turned right and exited right, to be honest. But there we are. There's the casino and the pyramid there, the legendary pyramid and the casino and what have you. Casino slash hotel, I think it is. And yeah, so this would have looked so much better at night time. I'm going to have to redo this flight in the future and do it from night time to show you. But unless, of course, I've uploaded another video in the meantime showing you Las Vegas at night time, which I probably have. I think I've got a video that I will be uploading before this one. So if you haven't seen it, have a look. Landing lights off, taxi lights on. Should have done that a bit sooner. But yeah, so we will probably taxi into the right side of the runway now. But yeah. Right, so finally managed to find a gate on the right hand side of the runway. Like I just said, I should have took the right exit instead of the left one there. But at least I showed you some of the Las Vegas Strip, so I'm not too fussed. And hopefully this video will be as short as possible, because I don't want to make massively long videos and what have you. It's just boring for you guys to sit there and watch them, unless of course you want me to, just let me know. But here we are, we're at another gate with a jetway, which unfortunately is not the right height, so it's going to lift up a little bit and look a bit daft. But what I'll do is I'll buy GSX ground services at some point in the near future, and we'll have all that sorted. But let's just set the parking brake. This is the part where, in this particular part of the video, I was actually following a paper guide from the PMDG paperwork, just telling me how to do the shutdown procedures. So everything's fine in there. We'll open the door, disarm it and open it first. And the cargo doors as well, we'll open those because we need to get the bags out and everything. This will be so much better when I have GSX because it looks so much more realistic. And this is the point where I'm following the guide. So I've just turned off the engines, fuel cut-off switches, which will turn off the engines. And I will leave you with the rest of this shutdown procedure. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching. Check out my other videos. Leave me a comment if you have any questions, or if you just have any general feedback and what have you. You can email me at MrYorkiesWorld@aol.co.uk if you have any queries. All of that will be in the description as well. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you in the next one.